Good evening, televiewers. Welcome to Prime Hour, the first edition for the week, an edition that is going to be looking at government's decision to suspend the intake of PhD candidates across universities in Cameroon. We're going to be looking at the possible rationale behind this new move by Cameroon's government. We also are going to be asking ourselves why there is so much focus and attention on the activities of FECAFOOT President Samuel Eto'o. Are we not forgetting other things and focusing on what he is doing or not doing? What is so capital with his management style since he took office? Why there's so much attachment to wanting to know his balance sheet only 18 months after he took office? We are going to be discussing this with two key panelists. One is already in the studio and one is caught in traffic. But let's start this edition of the program with what is happening in Duala. A building collapsed 3 days ago, and early this morning another building collapsed. We're going to briefly talk about what is not working well with some of the structures. I am in the studio with Dr. Ngwanyam, who is an educationist, a politician, and a social entrepreneur. Doctor, we're glad to have you once again on My Media Prime.
Oh, thank you very much, and good evening to our listeners. We hope that we'll be able to thrash the subjects to your satisfaction.
We also are expecting the arrival into our studios of Dr. Ako John Ako, who is also a lecturer with some universities in Cameroon. Let us take a watch at this video. Eli, please. Okay, this building we just watched now collapsed this morning in Duala. To note that 2 days ago, another building collapsed still in Duala, the nation's economic capital. Doctor, yeah. Very disturbing for those of us living in Duala.
Yes, it's very disturbing. I just want to say that if you want to rent a house that you stay in, don't just bump into the house and rent it and go into it. You could be looking for your death. Look at the environment. Make sure that you don't rent a house in an area that is very slopey, on a slope. Houses that are built on slopes, that's dangerous. And then houses that have been built in the lowlands, especially in Duala here, where it's very wet, the soil is not very firm, and there are special techniques for constructing houses in these muddy low-lying areas. If you just do the usual thing and put your houses like the ones we build in Bamenda, they would collapse. So I don't know how you will not be there, of course, when the construction is going on, so you can't be able to tell how the foundations were. But if you just look at a house, and a cheap house in an area that is not very comfortable, don't go into it. It's likely to bring you a lot of suffering and trouble.
Yeah, but two houses are collapsing in Duala within 4 days.
Yes, the houses don't have to have a meeting to decide at which rate they should collapse. Mm-hmm. If the physical properties are met, the houses will collapse. And you know that when I'm talking about the physical properties, you know, when you build a house, there's the total weight of the house, and then there's the structural support of the house, and it's sitting on the ground. So with the heavy rains that have been going on, you know, if a lot of rain soaks into that sandy soil and these weak soils and it cannot stand, then it will, of course, it will collapse, and the house does not have to take permission from another house to collapse. So the bottom line is the rains have been so much, the foundations have been washed away, the ground has been so soaked that houses that were not properly built would collapse.
Okay, which means that some of our landlords and landladies should have a rechecking of their foundations.
Yes. And if you would have noticed too that in Duala, just look at the roads. They break down. The people who are repairing the potholes, they just finish and go, and 1 week Well, they just go 1 week after that. Whatever they repaired breaks down again. So it tells you the nature of the soil underground and the water content, and that the soil is not compacted. So that is to blame a lot, and therefore we just ought to be very careful. The soil in Duala is not very stable. It's very sandy. But of course there are some dry areas here in Duala. You know, some little hillocks, and where the soil is firm and is strong, is good. But I was just thinking the other day, you know, like in the Denver area, it's you can buy a plot there. The plots there are relatively expensive.
Very expensive.
But you have to fill the thing with, you know, you have to bring in a lot of material to fill in, and you are actually building in water. And I made my calculations, and I realized that if you have a 5,000, you have a plot which is 5,000 square meters big in Denver, it's better to go buy one which is 1,000 meters. 1,000 square meters on hard firm land and then build into air than buy in Denver and try to go into the air, because you cannot go past 2 or 3 levels. It would collapse. You get what I'm saying? So, but when you buy on the solid on the solid land and build on that, you are certain what you are doing. So sometimes you need to think exactly about the structure before you buy.
Yeah, but majority of those living around Denver are the very big rich guys.
They are very rich guys, and therefore when they build in Denver, they put in what it takes. You know, to build in Denver, you know, we come from Bamenda, so we learn a lot of things here. The way houses are constructed here, in especially in Denver and these other wetlands, the technique is not used in Bamenda. So you would see, you know, there's a house. Just I think there are about 2 or 3. I paid a lot of attention how they were doing it. So they would take the house, and let's say they're going to come up 4 floors. They will start by digging about 4 meters into the ground, but they don't dig isolated pillars. They dig almost the whole plot out, take out the soil which is muddy and throw it somewhere else. Then they put a net. When I'm talking of a net, a mesh, is metal work. It's all spread out like a basket. You've seen how baskets are weaved back at home, right? So they put the rods across like that on the whole floor, and then build the rods again, so that it's like a basket. And then they put in a lot of concrete, and then they put the footings in that. So technically, the whole house is sitting on a metal sheet, so it cannot sink. But when you have this individual footings or something like that, the house, if it sinks by a few centimeters, it can tip up the whole thing. So if the house has to sink, everything, you know, it's just sitting there like a ship floating on water. So that's the way to construct in Denver, and it's not cheap.
But we have so many persons who are still living in these very slopey areas around Duala and
Duala, Limbe, yeah, all those slopey areas below the station hill in Bamenda. Yeah, those areas they're very tricky, because sometimes, you know, there's a rock formation under, and then you have a layer of soil, and between the soil and then the rock there's no binding. So as long as that soil is dry, and you come and put your house on it and perch like a bird, things are okay. But when it rains and the rain soaks into that earth, the whole mass becomes too heavy that the binding forces are not good enough, and the whole thing just slides off.
Okay, let us get to our focus for tonight, which has to do with this decision to suspend the intake of PhD candidates in our universities. What actually are we talking about here, Doctor?
We are talking about a restructuring of our university system in the country. That's what it is. You know, it's we start from somewhere, but the bottom line is that, you know, we've not been doing well with our educational system, and it needs correction. You know, in every system that works, you always have to do a SWOT analysis. You look at your strengths, you look at your weaknesses, you look at the opportunities, you look at the threats, you look at what everyone else is doing around, and then you see where you're having those weaknesses and try to correct them. You see where you have your strength and you build on them. Then you have to ask the key question: what is our education for? Our education is to help us to strengthen our economy, is to help us to develop, it is to help us to feed ourselves, you know, house ourselves, do all these things, provide jobs for youth, and then create wealth. So the question is, are we able to do these things with our education? The answer is no. Something is seriously wrong with our education, and everything, like I've said before, the whole educational spectrum, everything that we call education in Cameroon has to be revamped. And it
has to be revamped, but technically speaking, what is, because the note comes from the Prime Minister to the Minister of Higher Education, who now writes to directors and vice chancellors of state universities. What is the information that is sent out?
Well, the information says that as of now, there's no admission into first-year PhD students into state universities.
Until these ones, the current ones are out?
Well, whatever they will do with these current ones, it's I guess they will just let them flow through the system. But, you know, the thing is, we don't take in any more until we know what we are doing. That's the bottom line. Let us find out what exactly we are doing. Then, you know, recraft a new system and then restart on a new footing. That's the bottom line. So I think that, yes, the PhDs will come back, you know, after some time. But after the structure has been well laid out, so we know what we are actually going to do, and we will not be doing, when it finally comes around again, it will not be the same kind of PhDs like we have today.
What would have occasioned this decision? We have just been joined by Dr. John Ako, like I announced at the beginning of this program. He was caught in traffic. Good evening and welcome. But now I don't know whether you have seen the note. What would cause the government to say halting the PhD intake?
Oh, Mr. Leonard, in fact, it's very sincere, to be honest. Do apologize for the late start and coming in at this hour, and again for a while on Prime Hour. Thanking Dr. Ngwanyam.
You have been busy, always going to Yaoundé.
Between Yaoundé and Duala, it's not always very feasible. But then when I saw that note, I believe government has become very conscious. What we need to know is that some people have criticized even the intake and outing of PhDs today in Cameroon. After President Paul Biya launched the recruitment of over 1,000 PhD holders, some people registered a month ago and they defended 2 months after, because others are thinking some were sitting in a position that belongs to them, and others think it is their time, that they have to manage a particular group of persons. Then you will find it very rather unfortunate that in a university that was just created about 2 or 6 months ago, that's the University of Betua Ibolova and even the University of Garoua.
Yeah.
Yes, they too have been sanctioned by the same letter. And so what gets to beat your mind is new universities. How are they concerned with the programming of PhDs? Because we know for you to defend a PhD in Cameroon, the rules stipulate that at least 3 years. And that if there is any PhD registered which has not been up to 3 years old, it should not be defended publicly. And so how does that take to concern those universities that were just created 6 months ago before the end of the year? And today, we find a lot of it, but to somewhere, people will be thinking that it's a university problem. It is a state problem. And Dr. Nick will believe with me that the problems that affect the entire nation of Cameroon, it's every department in its entirety, and which we have talked here is a governance problem. And if there's a governance problem, how do we expect that those who have defended PhD 5 or 6 years ago have not been recruited all this while, and those that were validated PhD 3 months or 2 months ago were recruited? And to a very sad note, what has become of those people who have not been recruited for no reason? They have never been informed why they were not recruited, even when some tell you that they are actively of the same age and that their PhD is more than 5 years old. Some of them in the same university that they applied.
Yeah, but
they realize the intake came from somewhere else.
Doctor, are you saying that once you graduate with a PhD from a state university, you are supposed to be recruited? Well, I don't understand your reasoning.
That is the law.
The law?
That is the rule of education. No, just get it. Maybe you are not aware. A PhD is an academic certificate for teaching. The university has no other training ground for those who lecture in universities. It was even at the level of what we call the master's degree. I want to tell you that the cacophony we noticed in Cameroon came after the 25,000 recruitment of people into public service, and that there was a lot of intake even at the level of
Yeah, but if
masters.
what if we I did not know that there was a
No,
law.
let me tell you, if you are not aware, I want you now to understand is that there is no recruitment for teaching in the university except PhD.
Okay.
Like we train secondary school at Economal and SET and the rest. For those who go for primary and secondary school, they have their SCAPM and all the like. The university teaching, once you are for a PhD, first, if not professional PhD, academic PhDs are made to be university lecturers.
Okay, but even if because you are coming to train children, even if you have no capacity to pass down knowledge, I don't know.
I want you to understand is what I'm still saying here. Dr. Nig might not accept because he's not of the academic oriented mindset. But I will tell you that when you realize what has happened, even before the placards, people went begging to be recruited, as others took it as a saga. It is a university formula. When you go to the university and you are registered for a PhD, the objective at head is that you end up as a university lecturer.
Okay.
And once that position is not given, you are going to become so frustrated at once. In Cameroon today, I will tell you again, secondly, that we don't, for the time being, have an academic institution that offers professional PhDs. And so you could not differentiate between professional PhDs and academic PhDs. Academic PhDs are meant for teaching. But then that does not counsel that others might be inspired by other domains to become maybe social entrepreneurs, like Dr. Ngwanyam is here.
Okay, doctor, I don't know
that is exactly. I know what the question you want to ask, but I was just. That is exactly why we are here, and that's exactly why the government wants to correct this, because there has been this misconception that, you know, when you go and get a PhD, the government is obliged to recruit you. I mean, it's the first time. Has the government written any paper anywhere to say that?
It is still a standard.
Wait. You are saying two things and they are mixing them up. What you have said in the first place, that to teach in the university, you should have a PhD, granted. And then the second part, you are saying that the people who have graduated with PhDs have not been recruited. Am I correct?
Good.
But is there...
I said what came with the recent recruitment.
No, don't bother. Just follow this. Did the government, can you bring out any document anywhere that the government, you know, a decree or whatever to say that any child, a Cameroonian who registers in our universities in the PhD, if you come out, the government would employ you? Does it exist?
Doc Nick, you are getting me wrong there.
No.
I said the rule to be recruited and teach in the university
is PhD.
Should be at least a master's degree or a PhD holder.
There's no question about that.
Good. So that's what I'm saying. Those who go in for that program,
yes,
first objective,
yes,
is teaching in the universities.
And, if the places are full, what happens?
Who said they are full? Is your school full, Dr. Ning?
No, we do.
You have sufficient staff. No, it's not so. When you say they are full, please, let's be honest. Are Cameroonians not recruited because the places are full?
No, I'm recruiting now, but I'm recruiting professionals.
I'm asking, are you recruiting because they are full?
Excuse me. Let's take a situation like the University of Buea runs a journalism and mass communication department. Yes. And let's assume that we have 100 PhDs from across Cameroon. Where are they going to be teaching?
Is that the question? 100 PhDs in Cameroon?
Yes.
How many?
In this field.
In which field?
In GMC.
GMC, you remember, GMC is not found only at the University of Buea.
Yes.
And it will be very difficult to understand that the level of PhDs, there are very few. You are at mass communication. You know that department. How many lecturers, current journalists are at
PhD?
University of Buea? PhD students at the University of Buea.
All of them are PhDs.
I said roughly, like how many? Because you said 100 a year.
But we have so many PhDs in journalism and mass communication.
You have so many holders of PhDs.
I have my classmates who are PhDs. Then imagine the numbers that came after me who are PhDs. And recently, just the department has graduated some of them. Then those who went to study in African universities abroad. So if everybody comes back to lecture,
how many of those universities treat mass communication and journalism?
So many out of Cameroon.
Even in Cameroon, how many do exist? How many centers do you recognize?
Mass communication, There is, they teach communication in the University of Bamenda. They teach, there is STIC. Yes.
Yes, there is equally private universities teaching the
there's STIC. No, but private universities, you will not force them to take.
No, it is not a forced. With the private sector is equally a sector. And that's where a lot of Cameroonians got the miscalculation that teaching must be with the state. There are private schools offering the same training who are equally in need of manpower, like Doctor is doing.
Doctor, is that not also a fundamental problem for our communities where you have a PhD and you think that you must go and teach instead of thinking of how to fix societal problems?
There is a problem there still.
Okay.
We need to conceive it well. And if we understand it, like I've said, somebody who has his MBA goes in for a professional PhD. You will not talk much about him. He's somewhere ready and creating the jobs. And I still said, until we accept that there's a distinction between professional and academic PhDs, we will not mix up in the understanding. Let's accept that the nation has been more focused with the academic side of the PhD, and there is a need to open up for professional PhDs. I don't know if you knew of the conflict between Professor Duala, presently the rector of the University of Duala, and the Ministry of Higher Education, and even while he was a dean at the University of Yaoundé too, was to open up for a ground for professional PhDs, which we don't have today. And if we understand, like I discussed, I believe, on a common platform some time ago with Dr. Ngwanyam, in a need to progress a society, if we get on with the mindset that all must be job creation, job-oriented, empowering, financing, somewhere too, you are going to realize that there's a miscalculation somewhere. A lot of these countries that created jobs need quality labor from you. Or not all can be job creators.
Doctor.
I'm just taking them back. You see, this is the point. We are here to speak to the nation, we are here to speak to parents, we are here to speak to youth so that you can guide yourselves and get out of this mess. Because the bottom line is that we are in a mess with our educational system, where most of our youths are in a mess, and the government is looking for a way of solving the problem. And what the government has done now is to say, stop, let us go through this thing and see where we made the mistakes and correct the things, and then reinvent ourselves so that we can become more productive. That's what the government is doing. And you see, we didn't have these professional universities. That professional universities is something came around, started in 2002. But before then, it was just the academic universities just giving people degrees in subjects. And you'd know that to develop a country and to run the economy of a nation, you need people who can work in the economic machinery. You need people who can work, who can carry out that development. If you have only people who are only talking, but cannot use their hands at doing anything, that's where you run into a problem, and that's where we are today. You see, if you want to understand this, it's very difficult for Cameroonians to get it, because our country has been lopsided for too long that we've taken it to be normal. But if you go into a country like Germany, then you will see clearly what we are talking about. China got out of slumber about 40 years ago because China did something. 70% of the universities in China were they all had these academic universities. Then about 40 years ago, they changed 70% of those universities into polytechnics. And that's why they are giants today. It's making some sense here. And we also have these academic universities where we just put children and then they go through like sheep. But even then, let us look at some other thing. Let us just say, okay, let's take the academics as they are and go and look at what they actually do. You would see that many of the children, even if you're just looking at the academic level, don't put in as much as they ought to. They don't do that. And the training, let's go to the labs and so on, like in the sciences and so on. The labs are not there, so there's a lot of there's just a lot of guesswork and what have you. So the problem is not about us Cameroonians, Francophones, Anglophones, and so on. The problem is that as a nation, we are facing giants. We are facing China. We are facing South Korea. We are facing Singapore. We are facing Germany. We are facing America. We are facing Nigeria. We are facing Rwanda. We are facing Ethiopia. So if we continue in our foolishness, just because we want to feel comfortable and happy, we are going to pay the price. Things have changed, and nobody is going to... Either you wake up and correct yourself, or you keep doing your foolish things and then you'll be buried. That's the bottom line. And once you are not doing the right things, the strong nations will come and colonize you and sit over you and do whatever they want to do with you. The bottom line now, let me rephrase the whole thing. Let me rephrase the whole thing. Probably if I do, Dr. Ako will get it. Dr. Ako, we are in 2023 now, and the question is, if we ask the President Paul Biya what is the problem of the country now, he will say, and he has already said, that it's about import substitution. I guess you understand what that means. Import substitution. He has said it before in other words. He has said we would emerge in 2035. But 11, 12 years have gone by and we're still going around drinking Mimbo and celebrating certificates. But it calls for some kind of a change in our system for us to see what is called 2035, and we have done absolutely nothing about it. And now he has come up with another statement to say that we need import substitution. The question is, if we are going to have import substitution, what is it exactly? Why do we need it, and how are we going to get it? Maybe if you explain that, we'll be able to go on.
No, but now if we get this logic, because I'm also learning on this platform that every PhD is supposed, or they are engaging in academic, to end up as lecturers in universities. Is this not also the reason why the government say, okay, I'm shutting the door? Because
it's not shutting the door. That is why I'm saying that suspension does not mean shutting doors. We cannot stop recruiting people for PhDs. And when you get there well, the communique spelled out for those who paid money to precipitate their registration and even defense of such activities, that the various universities should make report.
Yeah, but for now, they're halting it now.
I said that's suspension. It's not like it is stopped or forbidden. Yeah, there is something that was going on. Maybe you were not aware, because when you are within the government standards, government payment and treatment of certain files take a longer period.
Okay.
It was examined or observed that a lot of those who defended paid and motivated the various departments and supervisors for their theses to be defended publicly, because the government will not pay those who were available immediately. And now it realized, and it had been, that is what has happened, because government will come to pay those who worked over those theses, maybe months or years after. That is where, if you read the communique, it will tell you that they need a clarification for those who did and how the juries went and how they were paid, the finances and up to the task. So the government is not even on the side that while they were recruited, but the processing of those who ended up coming out with a PhD. How did it go?
So there was corruption.
You know, I said it's a governance problem.
Yeah, but why was it corruption?
There is a governance problem.
Why was it corruption? Because everybody wants to go through and then mounting extra pressure on the government to take them in.
No, it's not government. It is a standard rule abroad. If you meet the requirement of getting a certificate or being registered in a school, once they open up admission for that, you are free to apply. There's no pressure.
No, I'm not talking about pressure for the intake. I'm talking about pressure to be recruited.
That is where I started explaining, and I was telling you that there was once a recruitment of 25,000, which many have even forgotten. That a lot of university lecturers with master's degree were recruited at that time, of which the normal procedure at the law of the university was that every department at every end of academic year proposes the lapses and the gaps of how many teachers they need. And those who defended masters at that time were just recruited automatically by the need of every department. But after the 25,000 recruitment, there was a lot of intake. And it took the government again over 10 years. And imagine, 25,000 I believe was around 2008 or 2009. And then government launches the new recruitment in 2020, let me say so. Imagine how many years. by this period, a lot of PhDs have been defended publicly, and they become flooded. And they started doubting why those who were recruited in 2008 with master's degree are now more comfortable leaving behind those with what? PhDs.
So these PhD guys expect that they should sack this
not sacking. They are instead saying that the government is capable of absorbing, which Dr. Ngwanyam was saying that it is not possible for the government to absorb everybody.
It's not.
And that is what I'm telling you. So those who went for that level, thinking that it was automatic, that they should be recruited at a university, while there was an intake 10 years ago, government to need to assume or take the shock of taking in more than it was required. Financially, government had to halt the intake.
But universities. That's why you are coming back to...
No, not like coming. I'm telling you, there was an economic impact. Yes, if the government went on without the 25,000, we wouldn't have ever noticed the lapse created 10 years after.
So it was a bad thing that government employed
no, it wasn't. There is a need.
I mean, I don't understand you.
No, except you are not getting. There was a need. The intake was enormous. And now some people came out 10 years after. No other recruitment took place.
And each year, we had graduates, PhD
graduates. What I said, they are graduates every year.
They kept accumulating.
And that is the problem that the government is trying to address, because you can just keep piling people.
No, and then, it is not piling. Dr. Nick, you have said something.
Wait, this is the bottom line. No, this is the bottom line. Wait, this is the bottom line.
Yes.
You go to school because after that you want to be able to help yourself, whether in the private sector, in the government or something. But everybody goes to school with the understanding that the state universities and the government would employ them. But government is telling you that we cannot do that, we don't have the capacity.
That is not what the communique said.
It's not what the communique says.
No, it is. Government has never said that anywhere too. One of the things I want to understand, well, Dr. Nick, maybe we are getting it off. There is no government without personnel. Likewise, there is no private sector without personnel.
What we are saying is that there's too much. Now,
no, when you talk of too much, we need to redress.
No, wait.
You set up Polytech. We have them.
Yes, but
we have Polytechs in Cameroon.
Doc?
You're not getting it right.
No. How better are the conditions of these PhDs who are lecturers in the universities than engaging in other more profitable activities? Is it to say that they cannot create wealth, they cannot get involved in other international organizations, and that they will wait for 10 years, that is, as a PhD, you wait for 10 years waiting for
government to
recruit, then to mount pressure, and then when you are not recruited, you come around the Prime Minister's office that you must be recruited. How do we explain this?
I wish equally to inform you that providing jobs for citizens is a constitutional right.
Yeah,
I said it's not a law or a statutory provision. Constitution. I mean the laws.
No,
wait. Let me get there. It is the laws, the highest law of the land. The right and the duty, the obligation to provide jobs is the obligation of the state. And even when you gain one, it is the duty of the state to protect that one job, whether public or private. And so when citizens comes out outrightly that there have been a maneuver, it was not for nothing that President Pobia launched 2,000 recruitment of lecturers. Meaning even the government itself noticed that really there are lapses.
Yeah, there are lapses. But my question still stands, Doctor. My question is, yes, even if the government were to recruit 10,000, let's assume that the government launches a recruitment and absorbs 10,000 PhDs. Why don't they think that they can make living far better serving elsewhere than the government?
They are serving. Dr. Mr. Komlenat,
yeah.
They are
because from you.
So why are they not happy serving where there's food? Why don't they?
Why are they not happy?
Yeah, why they should be there then? If they're serving, they should be there.
I said the communique that came out is not for those who have been recruited.
Yes.
It's for those to be admitted in the cycle of PhD.
Yes.
But that's what we are
those
talking.
are still to be students.
Yeah, but that's why we are talking, that there is a temporary halt to that.
A halt for recruitment into PhD. It's not for those who are holders of PhD.
That is the topic.
What I want us to get well is that something has not been managed well. We have said it's a governance problem. I don't want to give a name. It is not about the candidate. It is about the governance of the process.
Exactly what
it is not about the candidate.
Exactly what
it is about the process of getting these people.
Exactly what the topic is all about. What you
Good.
say. Yeah, but now, Dr. Nick, from what he is saying, he sees a bad governance machinery at the level, at the government level. But now, what is the government out to fix?
Now, let me just pipe down and breathe, because Dr. Ako is saying something. I mean, if you were to make Dr. Ako the president of the nation, would be in a lot of chaos.
Okay.
Yeah, because
if the communique is there, you take it over.
No. I mean,
no, it's good for us to read it.
Forget about the communique.
Conceptions or spiritual thinking may
forget about the communique. Forget about the communique. You can see a communique on the surface, but underneath that communique, there's a lot more than you see.
There is what we call the spirit of the law. It remains within the law.
Well, but what I wanted to say is, because we come from a very weak economy, our country has a very weak economy, no industries and so on, and everybody thinks that we have to be. Everybody thinks that we have to be employed in the civil service, which is wrong. Now, in strong economies, and before I even jump into strong economies, the civil service in Cameroon has about 350,000 persons, and that's already overflooded. And there are 27 million Cameroonians. Are we saying that all those 27 million Cameroonians have to be employed by the government? Not true.
And which you are aware.
The government cannot employ everybody, and no government in the world does that. So if at all you are saying that there's a provision in our law which says that that the government has to provide jobs for every citizen, then it's wrong and needs to be corrected.
I said it's a constitutional right.
It's a duty of the state to create an enabling environment for people to find jobs, to train children in a way that they can be able to create jobs. And to clear this doubt, let me say that there are 4 ways of earning money. The first one is to be an employee, like Dr. Ako is an employee. The second one is to be self-employed, like you have a lawyer who has his cabinet, a doctor who has his clinic, someone who has his auto mechanic garage, auto-employed, or the women selling in the market. They are auto-employed, self-employed. Then the third one is to be a business person. A business person, you set up a business, like Mr. Tambe, who has this My Media Prime. He has many businesses, and he employs 50, 100, 200 people, or even more. That's a business. You create a system which works. So Mr. Tambe is not here, but Leonard is able to handle the media, and then it's going in his absence. Then the highest level is what you call an investor. And to talk about investors, we are looking at people like Dangote, Papa Dampolo, and the Fotsos and so on. Those are investors. They are big companies with multiple businesses and multiple income streams and so on, making the money and providing a lot of job opportunities. So in a country that needs to grow, you need to create an environment for people to set up private businesses, for people to be investors and so on. And so it's about strengthening that private sector. When you strengthen that private sector and give the incentives that are necessary, a lot of jobs will be created in that area. But there is no way you are going to take 25 million people and put in the public service. It exists nowhere in the world. That's a wrong mindset. And you can now understand why Cameroonians are always about this matricule thing. You would see someone who is probably offered a job for 400,000 francs a month in the private sector. They will leave it and prefer to go and take a job for 200,000 francs in the public sector, because in the public sector you can lazy around, you can take bribes and so on, and then run away from work. And in the private sector is rigorous. So it is this rigor that a lot of people are running from. Whether we like it or not, it's time for us to develop that private sector. And I hope that Leonard is going to ask Dr. Ako what the president means by import substitution and how he would make that happen.
Okay.
I would respond. It's okay. I don't want us to change the dynamics of this.
No, the dynamic.
I which first.
Okay.
We are talking of the overhaul of intake of State University for PhD. You might not be confused with higher education and entrepreneurship in Cameroon. No, we are talking. We are talking strictly on PhD intakes. Yeah. Good. If you talk of higher education and entrepreneurship in Cameroon, Dr. Need will be 100% right.
Okay.
I'm trying to find a reason why the minister
It's
came out.
halting, yeah.
And I just said there is a problem with the process of taking in for PhDs and even those who ended up defending. We have argued in several grounds, and Dr. Nick is aware, that everybody has accepted that the present academic situation needs a revamp. It needs to overhaul and rethink. That Cameroon needs more of enterprise wealth creation mindset than employees mindset. That one is settled. But with what came out at the level of the ministry, I'm happy that the minister and his machinery had noticed that. And that is where the problem is. People will doubt. You know how it took people in Cameroon to have one PhD holder in a family. It's not today.
That's many
I mean,
years
before
ago.
at the time.
That's
At the
many
time you
years
went
ago.
to school.
Yeah, that's many
Dr.
years
Nick,
ago.
maybe that's what I'm saying.
That's
I
many
said,
years ago.
good. And now the environment has changed, and people will tell you somewhere that now there's a possibility that for those who merit, because there are standards, they don't just recruit people into PhD. That's what I've said again. If you merit the level, likewise those who go for Harvard or Cambridge, for those who are recruited there are standards. It's not because 10,000 people have applied for PhD in Harvard that Harvard will reject others. But Harvard will reject you when you don't meet the standards. The principle that have been set out. And if the ministry is thinking that there has been a problem in the recruitment and the processing of PhDs in Cameroon, why not? What is happening? There is a need to tailor the process. Let's not reason out of. There is a need to tailor the processing of PhDs recruitment and PhD holders in Cameroon. And within the next few days or so, you are going to have another communique, maybe stipulating the new rules.
Setting
the pace.
But now,
those who go in.
Yeah, but now, do we have a problem of the personnel training the PhDs we have in Cameroon, judging by their output so far? And if we are going to have a new set of rules that are going to guide the way things are going to be
we
done.
expect that in the days ahead.
But without a change in the personnel, are you sure that something is going to change? With the same persons in place?
It can never be the same persons.
Okay.
With the changing time, things have evolved. Dr. Nick accepted. Dr. Nick is a medical doctor. Dr. Nick today is a social entrepreneur. But maybe Professor Victor Nemangu, they use the same system and they became empires in their domains. You can imagine that. So within today, I believe even Cameroonians a lot, because we cannot bite more than we can chew. What we have to do, like Dr. Nick is doing, is mounting pressure for the better. But then the number of polytechs equally we have today are not the same yesterday. The number of private universities in the domain in which it is. In fact, the liberalization.
Is that not also where the cacophony lies?
No, it's not a cacophony.
Almost everybody is offering a PhD today.
We are not talking about PhD. I'm still telling you, we'll get to professionalism even if we get to that level. That yesterday, the number of private universities we have, maybe from 1992 to 2000, is not the same today. It will equally tell you that the government is thinking. In the same light we are talking here, the government is thinking. The number of nurses we train today, I don't think are the same 10 years ago. Dr. Lee would know that. Today we are talking of information and communication technology. If you get on, I would not like to call institutions here that never existed 10 years ago. The problem, which I have always said here, gets on with the orientation. And at times we even blame the personnel. It starts from the family. What do we want our children to become? What decision do you make for your child? Which school is he attending? It will be shocking you that children go and register in the university without even the parents knowing which field or domain the child is doing. There are many like that. I'm coming to Duala to register. I'm going to Ewane to register. What the child is doing, you are not aware. In a lot of secondary school today, after strong criticisms, there was a position of guided counselors that exists in secondary schools. Meaning before children even complete the advanced level, they should have in mind what awaits them tomorrow.
Yeah, but
yes, somebody, let me not get shocked. There is this euphoria of blaming the teachers, blaming the government. Ask various families, what have you done for your child? What type of education do you want them to receive? Have they been guided? Have they been orientated? If it is, Dr. Nick, I don't want to believe that you made a wrong choice, but you did what you could. And I don't want to get on to others, maybe for purposes of not making publicities about them. And we should equally know that with what we have learned, world creation is not by certificate. World creation is not certificate oriented.
Okay, away from this. Let's take a look at our PhDs today. Are you very are you comfortable with the output so far? Are you very comfortable with your assertion that when you get a
somewhere the positive aspect is that government had realized the demanding times.
Okay.
There's a need for schools, and with the purification or the liberalization of higher education in Cameroon, government recognizes that they could train many. And many who should have in their brain that the target is not necessarily for the government. Others don't have that. But remember where I started, Leonard, I never started that way. Meaning people have a duty to go on to other domains, even if you have a target. There are so many routes that may lead you to a destination. We have had a lot. When you go to schools like it is, I can call other doctors who are owners of what? Higher institutions. Those who graduated PhD own schools.
Okay.
Cameroon today, we are not talking about Professor Barikand. Yes, I don't want to make publicity about it.
Your net assessment of our PhDs.
You see, this argument is building up in this house because it's a difference of the way the perceptions are different, the mindsets are different. You see, Dr. Ako is strongly of an employee mindset, and I'm strongly of the private sector mindset. And it's strongly civil service mindset, and I'm strongly private sector mindset. So we'll be having these discussions for long. And I'm very worried about the many children that we train and they don't have jobs. That's the bottom line. Whether you study what, that's fine. Study whatever you want to study, but be able to feed your family. That's the bottom line. Study whatever you want. Do whatever you want. But be able to feed your family. Don't go asking the government to employ you to feed your family because the government did not sign any bond with you that they will employ you. Keep that in your mind. It's very, very important. Don't get carried away. If you get carried away, you're deceiving yourself. And things are changing. Though Dr. Ako says that there are many private universities and they need teachers, this is the bottom line. When you go to the state universities, the state university has got its own curriculum and programs training people in a particular way. Those teachers, those people that are brought up in the state universities, only very few of them can be recruited in these private universities to teach because the emphasis, the mindset, and what they are doing is completely different. It's professional. And when you just take someone who went to a state university and studied, let's say, agriculture and never went to the farm, and you bring him over here to teach agriculture, he's only telling stories, but he doesn't put his hands in the ground. He doesn't put it. So there's a big problem there. It's not about. And then when you go to check the many PhDs that we have, those PhDs, if they were in the sciences, it would be great, because after the school, let me just say something. What the ministry is doing now is doing a SWOT analysis of the PhDs and the other school systems, and what they're going to do is they would give weight and credits to some other areas that should be given the opportunity to train more in PhDs. I'm talking of the science, technology, engineering, economics, and mathematics, entrepreneurship. Then some other areas, some other subjects, would be suppressed, so to speak. And then many of these teachers who come with masters and PhDs in this thing, they're the ones who would actually teach in most of the state universities and private universities, because it is this kind of children who are going to man our industries. They're the ones who are going to create our industries. The bottom line is we don't have industries in Cameroon. And the good thing too is that the new law that is coming out for the Ministry of Higher Education is that every university should create industries. Every university should create industries. It's very important. And when President Paul Biya is talking about import substitution, because that's the target, is to the import substitution is to help us reduce the imports that we are bringing into the country and create those products on the ground ourselves. That's what the government wants. It is in the course of creating those products that we can provide jobs. When we take our raw materials and push them out at very little cost to other nations, what we are doing is we are actually exporting our jobs and our wealth. Then they go and manufacture those things and bring them back, and we pay dearly for them with dollars. They want to break that cycle, and to break that cycle, you are not going to get Chinese and so on to come and be running your industries here. It is our own children who have to be trained in such a way that they run the industries. And those children will be trained not in the state universities. Of course, the state university can change, can tweak what they are doing and catch up with this vision. But most private universities will be orientated to train students in science, technology, engineering, economics, and mathematics. That is what goes into the industrial fabric. Without that, all this storytelling that we are going up and down and expecting the government to employ whoever is a big waste of time and a time bomb.
It's a big waste of time and a time bomb. Now, if you were to advise our government, Dr. Ako, what would you tell them? That you suspend this for 1, 2, 3 years to clean up the stuff?
I said there is a need for tailoring. We are tailoring the domain. The domain gets with processes of recruitment and even out with the study program. You get to some universities, like you are going to notice, those who ended up being recruited, maybe overcome the rules that were set up at the days. So we are not aware that after this we are going to see the more other rules of getting recruited in state universities or PhDs, and we are going to discuss about that here. One of the things which I want us and Dr. Nick to still have, maybe he has forgotten, that in a lot of these state universities today, there are a lot of professional programs. That when you go, you just talk of the University of Boya, there's a department in charge of mass communication. There is a school in charge of interpretation. They are not training people who are going to teach. They are training people who already leave the school with skills. When you go to the University of Bamenda, we have the School of Transport. You have the School of Biomedical Sciences and all. These are not those who are going to come to teach. Those people are already professionals. When you get there at the University of Duala, you find what they call the IUT, the Institute of Technology. Get there and see what they are training. It is under the University of Duala. When we go into the university, maybe the University of Chang, the School of Agriculture is under the University of Chang and has been training well. We have a problem with the percentage, and not that it doesn't exist.
Good.
And that is what we should get people to understand.
Good.
And if we keep on talking this aspect of science and technology, as if everybody in Cameroon must be a science and technology candidate, we get again the question wrong. We go to Europe. Let me not get you shocked. Before getting recruited in a job in Europe, you need a psychiatrist and a psychologist. Most often than not, they are not science-oriented mindset. They have a philosophy in their own domain, which we still need. When you get into a game of football, there are some people who have their own aesthetic understanding about the game. They were not science students. Yes, we need sciences. Likewise, we need the social tastes. Those who have the social part of learning that make us equally adapted to it. And if a nation goes more in one domain, a lot will not still be in school. And you know what happened? When you are in secondary school, the reality, we should speak it clear. How many ended up in the sciences? Let's get to GBHS Bamenda, let's get to progressive and check out.
Those who are putting
how many
those white
gown, how many of them do you find on the campus? Some subjects, Dr. Nick knows, that the medulla oblongata, the stretched nature of your brain, most often than not, cannot take everybody.
You see, can I speak?
No, please, I'm still coming.
Yeah.
What we want and what we are saying here, like I said at the beginning, is that the government has noticed that there is a mix-up in a particular department that does not accuse the state that all is wrong. We are not halting the whole system. And we should believe that from 1990 to today, the educational domain, the higher educational domain in Cameroon is no longer the same. I even told people that a lot has changed. When you get to secondary school today, they are teaching entrepreneurship. Yes, people will tell you they are teaching theoretical entrepreneurship. Who said it is theoretical? The limit of a student is the scope at times of those teaching. You are free to expand your subject. And many have equally forgotten that some of those programs, when you study at the University of Boya, you hopefully at the end of your term you had a practical course, which took you for practice. There's a need. Where we are at the private universities, like white government, those who do courses which are professional oriented, the number of hours allocated for practicals are more than the study hours. So when you study and you meet practitioners who are in the domain in the hospital, imagine those students that go out for internship for nursing. They have a more better training because the system had made it so. Those who are doing engineering and agriculture, you send students to other sectors because the academic program has permitted that. And some people are doing aeronautics, others are doing physics, others end up their studies abroad. There are institutions in Cameroon that a particular field of study, you do it abroad. If we don't have the manpower, if we don't have the machinery, it is a critiques now we lay on the government, but not that the whole system is wrong. I just said here that getting to school, having what to do, and what you have to do look equally. We should accept that the economic level of some families doesn't support a particular career for our students and our citizens.
Dr. Nick, is it also time to redefine our higher education policy in Cameroon?
Yes, like I said, there is a new law that is coming that is defining.
Okay. Yes. We are going to be discussing that. Yeah.
Yes, it's gone through Parliament already, and just waiting
so
for
private education.
Yes.
Possible.
No, it's not just. It's the whole university sector.
Okay.
The government because that law is trying to correct a lot of these difficulties that we are seeing. What was I going to say? I just get so confused with this guy.
Yeah, that's whether there's a need.
No, okay.
To redefine
let me just say something. You see, if you go and look at our study patterns, there's an error that starts in our secondary schools, and that error is brought up to the university. You know, if you go to our secondary schools, you will see that only about 15 to 20% of the students are in the sciences. And then the other 80 are in the arts and social sciences. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then think of all the children in Cameroon, and you see the numbers. And the interesting thing is, for the country to be able to develop the economy and its development, that economy and development lies on the shoulders of people from the science background. They're the ones who can create those industries and do all those things and make them work. They're the ones who can work in those systems. And when you don't have those youth in their numbers, then you can never crank up your industrial fabric. That is the biggest problem. You know, when you say that Japan or that China is threatening America, it's not about the philosophy and the psychology that the Chinese studied. It is the technology in the hands of the Chinese that is making them threaten America. That's all. When we are talking about the wars today, these modern wars, those modern wars, they are based on technology. So the economy, development, and most politics and everything else is around technology and engineering. And we are saying that we need to strengthen that area. Because if we also go back again, let's just go back for the sake of it and look at this 15 to 20% of our children in our secondary schools who study the sciences, you will realize that even when they are studying those sciences, they are not doing a good job at them. I was lucky in my years when I went to CPC Bali, because CPC Bali happens to be one of the schools in our nation, and the laboratories were very good, and we had the teachers that were teaching us, they were very good, and we had about 4 or 5 white teachers from Holland who were teaching us physics, mathematics, and they were great. And I would say that by the time we were leaving high school, we were talking like engineers. We had this mindset. And when I went to QS for the first time, they were introducing us into the laboratory and telling us about things that we learned in Form 3, and I was so surprised and shocked about it. So what I'm getting at is that the numbers and of course the way that the sciences are taught in most of the schools, they are not brought to the children in a way and a manner that they can grasp the concept and be part of the game. So the teachers teaching mathematics and all these ones, they don't do it very well. So most children tend to drift away to the and read to the arts and read their literature and just be comfortable with that. But again, yes, you can study anything and get away with it, but the bottom line is when you become an adult and you're finished, what are the problems that you're going to be solving in nature so that you can pay the bills for your family? How are you going to feed your family? What are you going to do at the end of the day? Because it's about doing. And I've said when it comes to doing, forget about the public sector. The public service is full and is not taking anybody. So if you're going to be going to school thinking that you would go and get a job in the public sector as an employee or a civil servant, that's the biggest lie under the sun. It doesn't exist. Just put it out of your mind. Look for ways and means. Study in a way that you're going to create yourself a heaven in the private sector. That's where it is. And how do you do that? It's mostly through science, technology, engineering, economics, and mathematics, with character building, leadership, entrepreneurship, and emotional intelligence. All of these things put together. And then industrial agriculture. Then you would be able to find your way through. You see. And once you have studied those things, you can turn around and still read the other things that you probably missed out on. So it's very important that we orientate our children to be able to understand this. And I'm saying here that, when this thing is over, most of those people that have left universities with degrees in biology, chemistry, mathematics, physics, economics, many of them are going to be absorbed into the master's PhD programs and then reoriented to be very good teachers, especially practical teachers. And the schools are going to have laboratories, and these are the people who are going to lead our children and teach our children in a way that, the sciences are no longer very frightening. The children can understand and follow. Yes, if it comes to STEM, we can have as many teachers as we want. With PhDs, they would help our nation to grow. The bottom line is, what are we doing with our youths, with our teachers, and the school system, so that we can be able to help many youths get jobs, so that we can be able to create opportunities for everybody, so that you see, when I see children being killed in Tunisia, I ask myself the question, why are they there? They're there because as adults we have failed. They're there because the school system has failed. What are we going to... So we might be blaming the Tunisians for doing what they do to the children. But what have we done to help our own children? We have done nothing to help our children, and we are blaming the Tunisians. Of course, what the Tunisians are doing is not good. We are blaming the Tunisians, we are blaming the Libyans, we are blaming the Moroccans for killing our children. We are blaming the Italians and others for not removing our children from the sea. But the question we should be asking is, what are the push factors that are pushing our children out of the nation? Until we solve that problem, we are liars. And that problem is because of the failures in our school system, and we must start to correct those.
Okay, we have to start correcting those. We move on to our second topic for tonight, which has to do with the energy that is pumped by Cameroonians across the board on what Samuel Eto'o is doing or not. Do we need that fixation on what the FECAFOOT president is doing? How much do we benefit from what FECAFOOT is doing? Why do we not also exert as much pressure on ministers and other persons manning very, very responsible instances, except Samuel Eto'o? I'll start with you, Doctor, because you're the one who spoke last. Yes. How do we explain what's happening to Samuel Eto'o today?
Leonard, I would first of all like to maybe end up with the topic we just said something. I want us to be honest to ourselves, and as I'm saying there concretely, the decision that just came out from the Minister of Higher Education is one to put proper hygiene in higher education recruitment of PhD students. And like I still said, in the days ahead, we are going to have rules that will bring sanctity within that particular domain. We should not overtide up that it concerns other sectors, others. Yes, I know Dr. Nick had an idea that a new law is going to come out governing higher education, but this particular regulation is not on that.
Okay.
So we just hope that in the next future too, the tailoring for PhD recruitment will be one which is standardized. Because you go somewhere, even the universities, they have been a disagreement at some universities that those that are trained by a particular university are not to be admitted by another university. They have an idea that when you are trained in your own university, you should be capable of being recruited by the university that educated or graduated you. So that diversity or difference in opinion, when all of us we know they are all state institutions and they function within the same rules, maybe the Ministry of Higher Education is going to bring in more stringent measures in the recruitment and even the process of defending. Some people too have PhDs that maybe for a long time they have not defended. But the same communicator is going to come, will bring in some energy in that. Why a lot of energy behind Samuel Eto'o? I'm one of those people that in the past, I believe Eto'o never had a lot to offer. But when he took office and made a revision of his first 6 months in office, we were all aware that he has what to offer. The domain of football, which Samuel Eto'o has just inherited, existed with other presidents, where Cameroonians were not even aware of what was happening in football. I'm talking of somebody like, I believe, Iya Mohammed. Yes, is it Iya Mohammed or?
We have had Iya Mohammed, we have had Tombia Rocco, we have
the Tombia Roccos and Mbombon Joya. I have never considered them as president because they were timely. Their time was too brief.
Okay.
One of the greatest person we have was Iya Mohammed, where Cameroonians, I have never seen where they had even noticed how much we make in a game of football. But if you notice, Eto'o came with a new energy, new ideas, like we have been talking here, that at times there's a need for some new energy in every domain. It will happen the same if we have somebody who is not part of government becoming the next president. If you bring somebody who is not part of the present system becoming the next president, Cameroonians will give him this attack. Cameroonians will offer him the same bread and tea that Eto'o is receiving now. What shocked me is that a lot have written about his lapses. I'm still waiting those who are going to write letters about his successes. No newspaper is reporting about it. Those who are criticizing, nobody has said he has done good anywhere. But what I was happy, the last time I watched a FECAFOOT president talk of match incentive, football incentives to club presidents, the last time I heard was about 15 million. The last time I heard.
It was 11 million.
Okay, good. Thank you. But when I heard Eto'o spoke of 33 million, nobody has talked about that. And he said, justify. CAF is demanding new rules. Like we just said, that society is evolving. It's no longer the old FECAFOOT that we used to run. CAF now demands that you should have a website where even if we are in America, they say Canon Sportif de Yaoundé, we tap online. We should be capable of accessing basic data. CAF is saying that there must be a head office. Why do you have a football team and you move with the office in your briefcase? You go to the FECAFOOT, you discharge money from the counter. The president is saying that there is a need for tailoring, that now everything that concerns FECAFOOT catch should be through the bank account, not of your private account, the account of the club. He said just 6 clubs have respected those rules, and that the rest are the one quarreling now. Which means somewhere, if tomorrow you become the president of Cameroon, be ready to expect such an attack. For those who think that what was done in the past is normal, and that what you are asking now is abnormal.
It's strange.
It's very strange. And everybody has his reason. And what gives imagination is that those who supported their brother or their sister will give you very good write-up on how Eto'o taking FECAFOOT is a failure. In the United States, Joe Biden will tell you that wait me for the next mandate. If the next mandate is not mine, he leaves. So why do we cry over somebody that has a mandate that was given to him by some rules that are fixed 18 months after? I have never seen what I've seen witnessed with Samuel Eto'o. And I told people, like some others argue with Rigobert's song, there is a need and time to rebuild, which others equally believe. Dr. Nick talked of the progressive CBDM. So if they come tomorrow to power, it will not mean that we will not give them time to, like others had. So we should castigate them before the 7 years mandate elapses. No. Somebody has a mandate of 4 years. Give him his time. And others are thinking he should resign now. How many have resigned before Eto'o? That is what we talk of governance by proximity. Eto'o has made governance at FECAFOOT so accessible that Cameroonians even have information he does not have. In the past, we don't even know what happens. Today, people have what happened in Japan or Qatar, I don't know, and now what happened in Limbe. And you ask yourself, where did you gather all such information? Were you having it before now? People will not see the job he is doing. But then I know that errors are easily picked up than positive deeds. Eto'o is a superstar. He's a legend. I believe he knows very well. I've been saying all this while that I hope his own psychologist or his advisor should equally be strong to tell him that honestly, he should be expecting this. There is no leader without criticisms. The most perfect leadership are those that have received the highest criticisms. And what makes you great is not you fighting back. It's what you do with the critics that were thrown on you. So I expect Cameroonians that in the next 4 years, they should put the pay slip, I don't know, or the pass card, the report card of Samuel Eto'o. Let's see what has become of Cameroonian football. I believe, and I've told people several times, these are the type of people we need. People are leaving now Congo Democratic, South Africa to come and play football in Cameroon because they know salaries are stable. Players are no longer eating beignet and beans to go and play match or banana because salaries, Eto'o have said, players must have a salary and such salaries should pass through a bank account because we'll be capable of investigating. If FECAFOOT has given you 33 million, it is not their personal 33 million. The 33 million is to take care of the health of the club. So clubs should not complain. How much salaries have you paid for the past 8 months or 9 months? The bank account will give you the history of how it has been run. Match bonuses. Eto'o is saying that no, they don't take it again at the counter. When you have your match bonus of 10 million, we drop it in your bank account. Okay. And we know that's what has been generated. And so how is the club being run?
Now, Dr. Nick Ngwanyam, Eto'o is 18 months in office, yeah. And the balance sheet, everybody wants to see the balance sheet. How do we understand this? Are Cameroonians this, I don't know, this civil to pressure whoever is holding a position to render account 18 months after they took office?
You know that football is used in Cameroon as football is a distraction. Okay. There are a couple of things that football is a good sport, or any sport for that matter is good. In Europe, they work and then they play. So they work and then they can go enjoy themselves with football, work and go to theater, work and go to music and so on. But in Africa, we don't work. So football, drinking, dancing, enjoyment and everything, it takes most of our time. So we spend all our time around these activities. Now the football itself was limping before Eto'o came in. And when Eto'o came in, he wanted to set the record straight and make sure that things work. And he's been doing just that. And what we are seeing now are labor pains. That is going from an old system, passing through the birth canal into something that is new and good. So it's to be expected. There are many people who say they want change, but very few people are ready to go through the process of change. That's the problem. When it comes to change, everybody's shouting, yeah, we want change. But who wants to change? Nobody wants to change. People like their old ways. And, I think the bottom line here is the transparency that Eto'o is trying to bring. And what I would say is, when you are in a position of power like Eto'o is, you have to be very careful what you tell everybody else. There's this thing called, let me tell my best friend this or that. No, there's nothing like best friend. Stand alone and be very, very careful whom you talk to, whom you expose your things to, because they will use them against you. They would hurt you. And the bottom line is, whatever you do, try to keep your hands as clean as possible. When you're in a dirty environment, it's very difficult to do that. But try to keep your hands as clean as you possibly can as a human being. And just stay away from all of these dirty things. They would always try to look for something to nail you, and that is it. Another way to put it is, Cameroon is not just football. Cameroon, we have so many ministries, we have so many departments, we have so many things. But if I were to ask the question, out of the so many ministries and departments that we have, can anybody tell us two that are perfect, that we can use as a model to copy from? You get the sense of my question, Leo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we have so many, and I'm sure he knows. Probably the school where he teaches is perfect. Dr. Ako, we have so many ministries. We have so many private whatever. That are government. If we are looking for things that are efficient in the country, maybe you will look at. Just wait. Maybe you will go to Orange or to MTN and cite those offices. Don't mention those ones that are private. Let's talk about things that we run ourselves. Out of the many ministries, departments, corporate bodies, give me two that are perfect. I'll be happy with you. So we are just throwing banana peelings at Eto'o because it's something. It's one of those things.
I was going to cue to that. Yes. Don't know whether Eto'o is a soft target, because if we were to ask those living in Duala who the name of the city mayor is, they will not even know. But look at the conditions of our roads, our markets, and almost everything. If you were to ask almost everybody living in Yaoundé, I don't know whether they know the name of the city mayor, why are we less concerned about those things that directly touch us? How much does football put food on our table, provide us with clean water, electricity? Why are we not concerned?
That is what I said at the very first time. I said the problem here is not about FECAFOOT. The issue here is the identity of the person who is in that position.
Okay.
Yes. Samuel Eto'o is a legend.
Mm-hmm.
And people are thinking that, like Dr. Ni said, it should be coming from heaven with a lot of perfection. Mm-hmm. And what we know is that perfection does not exist. Even when perfection does not exist, how many institutions in Cameroon give accounts? You are just talking of Duala.
Yeah.
When you move through Duala. Who has even written a post somewhere? A post, I mean one, to say the roads. Of recent, when you go to Osndokbong, it is shocking.
It's terrible.
That they carry stones and come and throw on top of tar.
Almost everywhere. Almost everywhere.
Who has asked such a... Who has even made a video? The same press that is clamoring on Eto'o. I believe the issue of roads affect Cameroonians than football. The people in Duala. Last week we were talking of floods in Yaoundé. I have not noticed where we have posted that the government delegate.
Within 4 days, 2 houses have collapsed.
Who is talking about it? Why the energy? At times when you see it, Frenchman will tell you that la search au sorcier, that we are following demons. That when you go to a lot of write-ups, honestly, the people who don't want the individual are fanning it from behind. We know very well what newspapers do in Cameroon. We know what TVs do. You write and send, and then you give the small liquid. They broadcast it. That is what is happening. And people are thinking of preparing already that it should not be the next president, the next mandate. That's how Cameroon is. I'm expecting people to write about the town of Duala and the havoc at Carrefour Ndogoti. We have not seen one image anywhere to tell us that Carrefour Ndogoti is a daily nightmare for those who live in Duala.
It's scary to pass through that place.
Who is going through Ndogoti? The moment you have a destination that has to go through Ndogoti, I believe people have to make some signs of the cross. That let me just pray that there will be there will be a policeman there, or God by grace let the road be open. Meaning we know already that in terms of traffic, it is a dead zone.
The energy that we...
So what if Cameroonians have been doing this, what they're doing with Eto'o, with what concerns of governance issues in Cameroon, me and Dr. Neil have been smiling. That so finally, consciousness has come to Cameroon. Because I don't want to talk about it. It is a nightmare. We noticed somebody put to bed and the baby, they said the baby was not a baby.
No, don't go into that.
Yes, I said, no, we are not talking of governance.
But that's a complex one. Don't go into that. You open another box that is not.
We have seen a woman put to bed and the child is missing. No hospital. We waited for reports. Cameroonians have not answered finally whether the woman saw the child. Why looking at the toe and talking on daily basis, international media? I said if you watch Supersport, which is a South African broadcasting organization, they had first of all in the past had a problem with the toe being the captain of the national team. It's shocking that my own legend that I knew as a Cameroonian is being dragged into mud by foreign media because of the information of Cameroonians give out. Samuel Eto'o has been more of the victim in this great country than anything he has done. And what I learned, when you have people of this level, the state has a duty to protect them. The interests of this government to him. I was somewhere, we were talking, and I asked somebody, do you know of any woman they call Francois Bango? We talk of Yannick Noah, because he won one Grand Slam, and he took the French identity. He's a superstar. You have Francois Bango, who won us at the Olympic in 2008. We don't even know where he is, and we don't even know what she is doing. Eto'o has brought in a lot of interest. The marketing aspect of the identity of Samuel Eto'o is worth protecting. When his land was seized somewhere in Kribi, I did not see this talking. The talking we are laying now on him. I believe somewhere, like I said, good things, that a tree that bears fruits should expect for what? Stones. A tree without fruit should not expect stones. And I just want him, wherever he is, that he should believe that conception that it is true and it's working well for him. Now, because if you change the target and he gets on reasoning that Cameroonians don't want him, we have seen countries abroad that are claiming that Samuel Eto'o was supposed to be there, like others who have made it in football, live in those countries because they need the money, they need the taxes, they need his investment, they need everything. And now we have somebody here, just imagine that it takes flight in and out of Cameroon at the airport, the taxes goes to the Cameroon government. Those are things we need.
Now, when we called upon to request for a balance sheet from somebody, should that not be done comparatively to others?
Well, I think
what are we judging him for destroying that others had constructed?
No, I think when it comes to a balance sheet from Samuel Eto'o, he will give you the balance sheet and everybody can look at it. But he says, I gave you 33 million each of you. Give me a balance sheet of that. Then instead of you giving him the balance sheet of that, then you skip, and then you are doing witch hunting over there. There's a lot of witch hunting which is not good, and I will still say it. While we might be pushing Eto'o and he is able to bear the stress and the weight because he has nothing to be afraid of, I've just asked all Cameroonians that, you know, we are here, give us by telephone, just cite 2 ministries or two departments or 2 whatever in the country that are really Cameroonians, that are perfect, that we can use as an example in all that we are doing. And we'll all be happy. If you can just give me 2 that are good, then Eto'o doesn't need to be blamed.
Okay. I mean, we have kettles that are calling the pot
black. Yes, yes, that's the problem. That's the problem. The people who are shouting and shouting and shouting, those people who are complaining about Eto'o, if we just go into their records and look at each of them, they are very corrupt, very dirty, lies tellers, and many other things. So that is the problem.
Now, Samuel Eto'o is there. I don't know whether he's better than others. This attention on Samuel Eto'o, who is leading the Football Federation, and almost everybody wants to say perfect Samuel Eto'o. How is FECAFOOT? Are we not being misled somewhere? That is, we don't have light, we don't have water, we don't have the basic needs, yet, like you said, a destruction.
On our streets.
That is, we have forgotten about Our MPs are supposed to defend us, our senators, our mayors, almost everybody. Everybody's talking about football.
Leonard, I'm saying that, honestly, it is the identity of the person. Identity of the person.
Yeah, but
identity of the person that has brought light.
Let me add to that. All of this energy, where almost everybody they have forgotten about their problems that are supposed to be fixed by their mayor, their ministers, and everybody, and is looking up to Eto'o. Are they not attracting Eto'o to an office that may have to fix their problems? Are they not tempting Eto'o?
No,
because
we are not. We are
the entire nation is focused on Samuel Eto'o.
Yes.
Are they not tempting him to start thinking differently? That, hey, I thought that I came to fix football in Cameroon.
But there are problems elsewhere.
There are more problems. Yes.
Yes. Remember when Samuel Eto'o took FECAFOOT, after he made a 6 months presentation in office, they were right up that he should come and take a knee and can water, and that the problems there are too much, so he should come. But now we are surprised and embarrassed that because of a misunderstanding between some managers of clubs, Samuel Eto'o has become a very bad man. We have seen articles people wrote, and you will be wondering if it's the same Eto'o we knew, let me say 10 months ago, when he presented such a brilliant achievement in 6 months in office. And today, you ask, is it not that the people comes out with the same Cameroonian mindset of egoistic tendencies? Since it has not favored them the way they were thinking, it is time to chase him out. And when you see some videos reported by some people who supported other candidates, you'll be shocked if they are for Eto'o or they're for Cameroon, or they are instead protecting what they have been eating. Some people said a particular son is their own son, and that you should dare not touch him. Which means, even when the son is under the quest of the Justice Department, you are so shocked that they want to arrest him. They should not arrest him because it is somebody you supported, and that it is Samuel Eto'o that is for his arrest. We mean the judicial system in Cameroon now is a respecter of identity and individuals. So some people are worth arresting, others are not, because some people are supporting them. We think very strongly, don't forget to, at times negative publicity is positive on the same person. At one point we even thought that Samuel Eto'o is the lone person that can beat President Paul Biya in an official election organized in Cameroon. We knew what happened in Sangmalima, the hometown of the president, and a lot were thinking that after FECAFOOT, he should even become the next president. And people are still saying it up to now, that if we need a change, an interface between the old and the new, there's a need for Eto'o to step in, even if it's for one mandate.
All of this attention not rather playing in his favor?
That's what I said, that
the nation's attention
negative publicity at times may become positive. A lot of people, we have seen them. Yes, I don't want to mention the case of Dr. Neba and my brother, Barrister Kongo Bala, who became so prominent after being taken to prison. And then all the newspaper was that they were bad people, they were secessionists. And today, they have become hand sanitizers and laundering machines for the same system. You can remember, Barrister Bala will tell you that he has gone more further after his arrest than he was before. And that is the same thing that Eto'o. But then all of us knew that the identity of Samuel Eto'o cannot be measured to any other person. The identity, once the name Eto'o is mentioned, people believe that everything is supposed to be right. And that's why we said perfection is only of heaven. People wanted Eto'o to be as perfect or as clean or white as snow. But that is not what they are seeing. But the bit of the things they have talked about, I know very strongly that if he gets on calm, it's going to shock Cameroonians in the remaining 2 years, about 4 months to the end of his mandate. So people should wait and see. I have been saying that several times. Eto'o is going to shock us. Of recent, a match in Duala, Bambutu's cotton spore of Garwa generated us over 34 million.
It took me so much time to move from Camtel that day. I did not know that there was a match. From Camtel to go through towards SADP. I was shocked. I asked myself what was happening, and then I saw people from Camtel to SCDP moving down to Machine Bopi. The whole after the match, I was shocked. Yeah.
34 million in a single match for a Cameroonian league. It's what we have not seen for the past 30 years. We were claiming government has remained on incentive oriented with FECAFOOT. But today, if we have started generating, and you see what is said on this video was not lies. People leave offices now in Yaoundé to watch a match at the Amadou Stadium. Because people had not, there's an interest in the marketing of Cameroonian football, which has gone above what we can even measure. So why do we destroy the plan?
The question one may have to ask is, okay, the clubs say, most of the clubs say, they say, companies are giving you money because you have to give to us. We want you to render accounts. And since you cannot give us what we want, you rather stay off football. They want Samuel Eto'o to resign. Now, Samuel Eto'o is bringing more money to the coffers and has even increased how much is. What don't we consider the risk of taking him out and then we go back to where we were?
What those other teams should realize is that if you have companies supporting FECAFOOT, is because of the image of Eto'o. Take out Eto'o, and what you're putting your eyes on will go. So it's about teamwork. It's about teamwork. I don't think that Eto'o is taking the money and working with his own home. He has too much money to be able to be doing that. That's not that. He didn't get into FECAFOOT because he wanted the little money that's coming from left forward center. He has more than that, and he doesn't lack food to eat. He doesn't lack cars, no houses. So please, if you're too broke that you can't think beyond that, don't take it to Eto'o's level. He's too big for that, and what I'm saying is that he is that icon. He is that person who is growing the football. If you don't have Eto'o there, this FECAFOOT will not be what it is. Just give him the time to build it up as best as he can. But remember, he's not God. You know, I've always had people who try to ridicule me, let's say on WhatsApp or something, then or say something funny. You know, like sometimes some people would attack people like late Cardinal and try to say funny things. And I would say, sorry sir, you are very good, but you know two very good people on earth. And I know that you are the first person. Who's the second person that you could bring on the list? Might be your wife, your father, or your own pastor. You know, we like to throw dirt on other people, but we cannot fit into the shoes of those people. Okay. Like criticism is the cheapest commodity on earth. Did you know that? If somebody asks you what is the cheapest commodity on earth, it's criticism. We just like to criticize people. It's the cheapest thing, the cheapest commodity. But we cannot do. A lot of people who make a lot of noise about Eto'o cannot do 1,000th of what Eto'o does. But they are drinking a beer and then saying all sorts of things, describing his life, insulting and saying, but all they can do is drink that beer and talk. Beyond that, they have nothing to show for their own lives. So, and you know, there's this video that has been going on social media where somebody is describing the human being. There are three groups of human beings. You've heard about the barbarians, the tribesmen, and the citizens. You've heard that. Another way of looking at it, there are people with small minds. The ones that are called barbarians, you can also call them people with small minds. The ones that are tribesmen are forgotten. They're average minds. And then the citizens are thinkers. So here you have someone like Eto'o who is a citizen, who is a thinker, but you have a mass of people who have the mindset of the barbarians or small minds. They're the ones that are churning all this noise. And don't forget, when they're talking about tribesmen, it's not that they are small people. You could still have somebody even as big as a minister who reasons like a barbarian.
Okay, now let's take Eto'o from FECAFOOT. Who do you see turning things greater than him? Dr. Ako? Yeah, because when you say we want you out, it means there are better options. Who fetch us those?
I don't think to me, because I don't want to be so fanatic, but then I expect that he completes his mandate. I will understand and disagree with Eto'o after his first mandate. I want to take this example to President Barack Obama when he was at midterm 2 years after. Obama took power in 2008 when there was what we call the world financial crisis. Banks were crumbling, people were going home. People thought that it was the end of America. Those who are even thinking now that with the war in Russia, the American economy is crumbling, very fat lie. What I saw in 2008 by the time George Bush was leaving, people thought America was going to collapse completely. But the first 2 years, I had a student who asked Barack Obama, what have you done that you merit a second chance? He cited one thing, that when I came, people were living at home for job drops. And after entering into this office, I'm not the one talking now. A lot of your brothers are back for work. It summarizes everything. Samuel Eto'o has given already an image to Cameroonian football. I know all through, you remember, people have cited some names, that the Mbappe saga of visiting Cameroon, and if you're going to visit the son of the President of the Republic and others, he could not see Samuel Eto'o because the individual, Yannick Noah, is trying to manipulate himself into FECAFOOT. And that since the issue of Coq Sportif, where Yannick Noah was the ambassador.
Yeah, but those are just rumors, speculations.
No,
but those are just speculations.
Everything is what? Taking a pinch of salt.
Okay.
Yes, when you analyze the story, gives you an image too. That somewhere, the disagreement of Coq Sportif, you know very well how these foreign multinationals, they work. That since you did not agree with us, there is everything we're going to do to bring you down. They might have been the one even behind painting the pictures left and right. And if this comes out to be true, I just think that FECAFOOT, like we have seen in other European nations now, is no longer, federations or FAs are not meant for politicians. They are meant for those who can manage a football. And that is why, even from the level of FIFA, any political issue that mingles into football, the federation is going to have a problem. And Eto'o presents himself as one of the finest for now, because we have not seen, or maybe you may think those who opposes him are going to do the best. It will be a lie. It will be a lie. We were told somewhere that a bet at hand is worth more than 20 in the bush. You just talked the issue here, moving match incentives from over 15 million to 33 million. Even if somebody is foolish, we're not talking match bonuses. After match, that one comes after. This is money federation gives you for the beginning of the football season. And at this level, meaning if we have to add bonuses, they wanted to declare to them sponsorship money from teams. Nobody has said we went here. We have not had the issue of unpaid allowances from players in all the categories. We're expecting them to come there. I know the problem we face with some of those people, they become more successful before Eto'o came. I knew the problem of getting for the World Cup in 1994, where Cameroonians contributed, and even at that level, the money was missing between Paris and New York. And nobody had ever asked for account. To this extent, I believe very strongly that Cameroonians are overzealous. People want to over-evaluate. Within 18 months, people were thinking that Eto'o is supposed to have won all the competitions he went for, forgetting that football is a game. And if it is a game, then we are all going to move by it. The rules of the game is that we qualify for the World Cup, and we did. And not only winning Brazil and setting the mark. Many have forgotten that since Cameroon got Brazil beaten, other African countries see themselves now capable of beating Brazil. And I'm talking of Senegal and Morocco, who have succeeded to win Brazil, a story which Neymar said, Cameroon, he doesn't think that he has played 5 friendly matches with Africa and has always been winning. He forgot, like Ronaldinho said, Ronaldinho told him that you can do everything, but when it comes to this small country, Cameroon, be very careful, because Dino tasted it at the Confederations Cup in 2003. So a lot of these issues, Eto'o has come to give a new light. And I don't want to think, and equally notwithstanding, that since he's a human being, like I said, let him consider that the criticisms he's receiving are pointers for him to readjust is management. Yes, I was told somewhere that management should be participative and somehow you need to be autocratic. When you are too autocratic, those who were there will think that you have become a dictator. This is what we are saying. So he should try to get into what we call participative management, where the opinions of others too should be accepted. But he will not accept what is going to destroy what the foundation he is building. Samuel Eto'o remains the person presently Cameroonian need. Samuel Eto'o, not only Cameroon, but what African footballs need.
Now, Dr. Nick, we have seen most of those now fighting Eto'o are those who worked very hard for his success. Is he betraying his former allies? Or it is an issue of the spoils that are not well shared?
He's not betraying his former allies. You know, we like blackmail a lot.
Okay.
When we support people in Africa, when we support people in in one way or the other, we expect that they should reciprocate, whether we merit it or not. So I think this is one of those things where people have supported Eto'o to be the president, and when he wants to be that president that the country needs, then they start saying, oh, but I'm your personal friend. If I didn't put in my one vote, you would not have been the president because I voted for you. You see, if I had not given you that vote, you would not even be making this noise. So you owe me. All kind of thing happen. People come up, there's some political movements, let's say like the Frankist movement, Frankist movement, then you just see some people who just say, I'm this, not because they know anything about the philosophy of the Frankist movement. All they are doing is positioning themselves to get something. And if President Paul Biya has been in a lot of trouble, it's because of all these kind of people who just jump in, they support him for this and that, not because they care very much about the common good. They care that he should give them their own share of the cake or give them an opportunity to do whatever they want without control. So when the president starts nailing them now, they say, oh, were it not for me, oh, were it not for me, this kind of thing is all blackmail. Okay,
blackmail. How do you handle this?
You
engage in dialoguing and trying to find a common ground?
No, this is it. First and foremost, when you are going to these kind of positions, don't enter into unholy deals with people. And you should have your capacity, and Eto'o had the capacity. But we would say that probably during those elections he needed a little bit of energy from this, that, and that. But don't support somebody so that you can turn around and then try to hold him by the testes to be doing unholy things in your favor. It's wrong. If we want our country to change, if we want to go forward, we should stop that kind of behavior where we hold people to ransom. It's not proper. Let people do what is right, what is just, and what is good. And then whenever you come into a position of power, you have to have some rules that bind you as a person. There are some things that you will not do for any reason. And then when you draw the line in the sand like that, let people know that you are ready to do this, and you are not ready to do this even for your mother, and you stand by that, you will be great.
Okay, Dr. John Ako. Eto'o is attacked from almost everywhere and from out of the country. What is the posture he should take as he looks forward to guiding the destiny of Cameroon's football?
Yeah, I just said it at the very beginning, that when you bear fruit, you should expect stones.
Okay.
But then, somewhere, it is not for you to throw back the stones at the people. Use the stones that are thrown on you and build a more stronger foundation, so that those who threw those stones, we know that you are more positive. I said a lot of criticisms that have been made on Eto'o. He should have a duty. And what I love with some of those club presidents is that they made a writing. Some of them wrote and sent to him. Let him take some of those criticisms, make a report and analysis of them. And somewhere, he should be sincere to say whether this is right and this is wrong. He might not necessarily ask for an apology, but some of those critics that have been made, he will use them to instead build a more stronger foundation for FECAFOOT. So that tomorrow, maybe in 10 months' time, the same people, what they talked of, have become better off. And you find a lot of minds whirling again. It is just a time for critics. There will be an observation time that people are going to evaluate what Samuel Eto'o has done. And if he is going to give that light, Eto'o needs to be a leader. A leader told of uneasy lies the head that bears the crown. And that is what we're saying.
Yeah,
when
but
those things are positive.
What about these guys who say he should resign?
It's not their mandate. And he said it. And I was happy when he said that I have 10 regional federations. And if 8 are the one writing for resignation, and 2 are writing for resignation, what should I do with the remaining 8? He continued his mission. That was a positive mindset. He's free. They are free. And in the same regions where we have those write-ups, there are still some divisional presidents or vice presidents that have said they are with him. So the fact that there are critics does not mean that Samuel Eto'o should stop from being the person Cameroonians are expecting. I will think very strongly, like I said here, the psychologist or his advisor should take the various criticisms that have been written, even what newspapers are writing. When we come here at times, we read even newspapers. We are not reading them for nothing. We are reading for information, because somewhere today have a story to tell. We even go to social media platforms and we see what has been written. So Eto'o should consider, even if the gossips were bad gossips, let him check within the bad gossips what can instead assist. Thirdly, he should get into sincere dialogue. Eto'o should get into dialogue and maybe a reconciliation at time. Make a strength of a leader. A leader is not the one that I cannot calm down. We have learned of leaders must be what? Servants. For you to learn better in the office where you are. Learn to accept that you are that child others are expecting. When you see others even make noise, one of the aspects is that they want to be seen because it concerns Samuel Eto'o. So let me even write a bad paper. The press will talk about me. What becomes of that? Such papers may not be needful, but then equally making the image of those people. Eto'o has a duty to look at all criticisms that have been made. Those that are positive, let him use them, and why not reconcile the various factions. We are waiting that maybe in the next two years, Cameroonian football will be the best. He promised us a stadium in Bamenda, another one in Chang, and somewhere around Nolinga we expect another. Some people are expecting by maybe I want to 2025.
So many persons have written.
Has done so.
I want to read this particular message. It says, "Good evening, Mr. Liu. What your people are saying is because they are not footballers. Match fixing is the worst thing in football. Let them not say what they don't know. Can you invite these people who are against Eto'o and let us hear their own side?" Vali is writing from Ekwendo Titi. Vali, I want just to tell you that I just invited Dr. Nick and Dr. Ako. I did not find out from them whether they are for or against Samuel Eto'o. Now, when you say, let me get people who are against Eto'o, it's already very subjective. It gives me the impression that I look for people who are for. No, I just invited them to exchange, because if I brought guys in sports, there will be people who are in this or that camp. These are objective-minded persons who are analyzing things the way they are. And when you say match fixing is the worst thing, what is the worst thing that you ever did? And where are you today? I'm sure you are writing freely, but today I'm sure you have committed a crime. You have done so many bad things in your life. So I don't know how you say, let me get those who are against Eto'o. Against Eto'o for what?
So how do you go get people?
No, you have those who are for. So that's what he's saying.
No, I just invited them. I did not say, Dr. Nick, are you for or against Eto'o? Dr. Ako, I just invited them, and they are speaking from your mind. Yes, Cameroon's football, how do we get this mindset of building? Because take from Iya Mohammed, we have had a series of them, and everybody is fought. There is a problem. Eto'o is there, he's fought. Do we think that, okay, if Eto'o leaves, the next person that is coming is going to be perfect? And for how long are we going to be fighting?
No, it's like I said, he's going through. Eto'o is trying to bring out a baby, and the baby is going through the birth canal, and so the woman is in labor, and then we are already fighting over what is the sex of the baby, and so that's where we are now. The woman was pregnant, had a lot of pregnancy issues. She's in labor now and trying to bring forth a baby, and she's screaming and she's going through these labor pains, and that's what we are seeing. It's all the labor pains. So let's wait. When the baby comes out, we'll be able to tell whether it's a female or a male. For now, the labor goes on.
Okay, the labor goes on. Please, I did not ask Dr. Nick or Dr. Ako whether they are for or against Eto'o. I just told them that, okay, we were going to discuss this and the first topic. Nothing was planned. Dr. Nick, I thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Well, we just came to educate the public, especially on our educational system. But again, congratulations to all the children who have passed their GCEs. Please, when you want to go to higher education, choose very carefully. Always think what you're going to do with the training that you are going to have. If you're going to go to university or whatever and not be able to do something with your head and your hands, then you are all wrong. Choose something that is professional so that you'll be able to help your parents, help yourself, and why not build your own families. If you're going to study one of those subjects again, the country doesn't have room for people who just study subjects any longer because you're not productive. Thank you.
Okay, thank you too for coming, Dr. Ako.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine. Once more again, talking issues concerning Cameroon. Like Dr. Nick rightly said, parents should learn and have within themselves that the future of the child depends on the foundation of the information he or she has received. We should avoid government too much blame when it comes to education. And we should equally know that not every child, brain or mindset is fitted for a particular purpose. Their opinion too, at times, is needed.
We want to thank you all who took time off to watch this first edition of Prime Hour for the week, and to you, Desmond and Eli, for production. Thank you. Also, Tabi Bryant, who is supervising our work out here. Stay blessed. Bye-bye.